The wind came first, howling like it wanted the world to break apart. Snow drove sideways across the plains, lashing against Elias Gray's face as he leaned into it, reins taut in his gloved hands. The mare stumbled in the drifts, steam hissing from her nostrils. Somewhere out there, a calf bawled, a weak, desperate sound swallowed by the storm. Elias pushed forward, coat stiff with ice. The world was white and endless, his breath the only thing alive. He called out once, twice, his voice lost to the wind. Then he saw it, something dark half buried near the fence line. He slid from the saddle, boots sinking deep. The snow burned his cheeks as he knelt. It wasn't a calf. It was a woman. Her hair was black against the snow, her face pale and still. The tattered edge of a red silk ribbon fluttered at her throat. Elias brushed frost from her lips, cold but not gone. He didn't think. He lifted her, light as a ghost, into his arms. The mare shied at the sudden weight, but Elias swung up, holding her tight. The wind screamed behind them all the way home. At the ranch, he shouldered the door open, half frozen himself. The fire had burned low, a faint glow under gray ash. He laid her near it, stripped off his wet coat, threw on logs until the flames leapt high again. Steam rose from her dress as the ice melted. He pulled a blanket from the cot, wrapped her in it. For a long time he said nothing, only watched her chest, waiting for the rise and fall that would mean she'd chosen to stay. A faint breath, a shudder. Then her eyes opened, black, sharp, frightened. She tried to sit up. He steadied her with a calloused hand. "You're safe," he said, voice low, cracked from the cold. She stared at him, not understanding the words. He pointed to the fire, then to her hands. Slowly, she extended them, trembling. Minutes passed like hours. The storm rattled the windows, snow hissing against the glass. He poured her water, held the cup for her. She drank in small, careful sips. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft and broken. "He left," she said. "Left me in snow." Elias didn't ask who. He only nodded, a shadow passing through his eyes. She looked at the fire, then back at him. "Why you help?" He took a long breath before answering. "Because no one helped mine." The flames popped. Outside, the wind began to fade. Inside, only the crackle of the fire filled the silence. Elias leaned back, eyes on the storm beyond the window, the woman shivering before it. That was the night, they say, when two lost souls found each other, one carved from sorrow, one abandoned to the cold. And the storm, cruel as it was, brought them both home. The hammer struck the post again and again, the sound cracking across the thawing yard. Elias drove the nails with steady fury, fixing the corral gate that winter had torn loose. Each blow echoed the silence that sat between them. Maylin worked nearby, kneeling in the mud, mending a torn saddle strap with fine, patient stitches. Spring sunlight had begun to show, but the air still bit like steel. The ranch creaked as if waking from a long sleep. "Too tight," Elias muttered, glancing at her stitching. She paused, needle trembling in her fingers. "Strong," she said carefully, her accent soft around the word. He looked away, ashamed at his tone. The mare snorted, pawing at the ground. Somewhere distant, a coyote barked. The world felt too wide, too exposed. By midday, the first riders appeared. 3 men on the ridge, dark shapes against the pale sky. Elias saw them before she did. Cutter in his hands. He didn't wave, didn't move, just watched as they descended, their horses cutting deep furrows through the wet earth. Cutter spat into the mud before his boots even hit the ground. "Afternoon, Gray," he said, grinning without warmth. "Heard you got yourself some company." Elias said nothing. Maylin had gone still, hands folded in her lap, eyes down. Cutter's gaze drifted toward her. "Pretty thing. Guessin' she's the one old Barstow was waiting on. Mail order from over the sea. Poor fool froze to death looking for her." The lie rolled easy off his tongue. Elias's jaw tightened. "She ain't yours to keep," Cutter said, stepping closer. "Girl like that's property. Papers signed and paid. Man, she was meant for put down good money. She belongs to the company now." The air between them turned sharp. Elias's hand brushed the hammer still in his belt. "She's free," he said. Cutter smiled, slow and mean. Ain't no such thing out here. You think your wife would have wanted you shacking up with one of them? The word landed like a slap. Mei Lin flinched. Elias's shoulders straightened. Get off my land, he said quietly. Cutter leaned close enough that Elias could smell whiskey on his breath. This ain't over, rancher. You got something that's mine. The men mounted and rode off, laughter fading into the wind. The dust they kicked lingered long after they were gone. Inside, Mei Lin stood by the fire, hands folded, face unreadable. Elias watched her, the ache of something old stirring beneath his ribs. She broke the silence first. You fight for me? He met her eyes. No, I fight when men forget what mercy looks like. Outside, the sun sank behind the ridge, bleeding gold into gray. The wind shifted, carrying the echo of hooves down the valley. The storyteller's voice fades in. That was the day shadows lengthened between them. Not of mistrust, but of men who'd come to take what wasn't theirs. And from that moment on, mercy had a price. Smoke drifted low across the valley, the smell of burnt wood riding the dawn wind. Elias reined in at the ridge, eyes narrowing at what used to be the McAllister place. The house was nothing but black ribs and ash. A single cow moaned somewhere in the ruins. Cutter's work. He sat still in the saddle, jaw tight, watching the smoke twist against the pale sky. Mei Lin's voice came faint behind him. They'd come close now. He didn't answer. He just turned the horse home. By the time he reached the barn, the wind had picked up, whistling through the boards. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. For a moment, the dark swallowed him whole. Then his hands found the lantern, lit it, and the light fell across the dirt floor, across the spot he hadn't touched in years. He knelt, brushed aside straw, and began to dig. The shovel hit wood with a hollow thud. He lifted the small chest out, set it on a crate. The lock broke easy under his boot. Inside lay the guns, twin revolvers, wrapped in oilcloth and silence. He unrolled them slowly, the metal dull but ready. Behind him, the barn door creaked. Mei Lin stood there, her face pale in the lamplight. You hide from who you were, she said softly. Elias looked at the guns. Tried to. She stepped closer, voice steady now. They burn homes. They take people. You fight once, you can fight again. He looked at her, something flickering behind his eyes. Not anger, not fear. Memory. He loaded the guns without a word. Each click echoed through the rafters like a confession. By nightfall, word spread that Cutter's men had taken over Red Hollow, the abandoned mining camp turned outlaw den. No law rode that far now. Elias saddled the mare. Mei Lin met him by the gate, her shawl pulled tight against the wind. You cannot go alone, she said. I always have. She reached out, fingers brushing his arm. This time not for death, for home. He hesitated, then nodded once. The storyteller's voice came low, like wind through cedar. They say the widower rode out under a blood-red moon, back to the hollow that once buried his name. For long before he was just Elias Gray, he was the man the outlaws whispered of, Gray Death, the ghost who walked between mercy and judgment. He rode through the night, the horizon burning faint with distant fire. Every hoofbeat sounded like an old promise coming due. And somewhere behind him, in the house that smelled of smoke and snow, Mei Lin waited, a single lamp burning against the dark. The ghosts of Red Hollow had woken, the storyteller whispered, and the man they'd once feared was riding home. Gunfire cracked through the hollow, sharp as breaking glass. Elias ducked behind a fallen beam, breath fogging in the cold. The air stank of gunpowder and wet ash. Snow drifted down through holes in the old saloon roof, settling on the dead and dying. Cutter's men moved in the shadows, boots crunching over splintered boards. Their laughter came low, cruel, certain. You come crawling back to die, Gray? Cutter's voice cut through the wind. Heard tell you were a ghost, but ghosts don't bleed. Elias thumbed back the hammer on his revolver. The sound was small, but it carried. A pause followed, that thin, quivering silence that lives just before death. Then the world erupted. He moved with a precision that didn't belong to age or mercy. Every shot was deliberate. Every pull of the trigger answered for something. The burned ranch, the bodies in the snow, the years of quiet grief. Men fell before they ever saw him. When the smoke cleared for a heartbeat, Cutter stood alone, framed in the doorway, his coat flapping like a torn flag. "You ain't sav on her, Gray," he spat. "She's mine to take back." Elias stepped into the open. The wind keened through the hollow, carrying flakes of snow across his face. "She don't belong to anyone," he said. Cutter drew first, wild, desperate, and the bullet tore through Elias's shoulder. He staggered but didn't fall. His own shot came slower, truer, grazing Cutter's ribs. The outlaw cursed, lunged forward, knife flashing. They hit the floor together, struggling in the dirt and blood. Cutter's blade pressed close to Elias's throat. "You can't save nothing," he hissed. A single rifle shot cracked the night apart. Cutter's body jerked, the knife clattering from his hand. He fell forward, eyes wide, already fading. Elias rolled him off, gasping. In the doorway stood Mei Lin, the rifle still smoking in her grip, her face pale but unshaken. The snow kept falling, soft and endless. Elias looked up at her, one hand pressed to his wound. "You shouldn't have come." She stepped closer, kneeling beside him. "You shouldn't have gone alone." For a long moment, neither spoke. The hollow was quiet now, only the wind whispering through the dead timbers. Then, faintly, dawn began to rise, a thin line of pale gold cutting through the clouds. The storyteller's voice fades like the last ember of a fire. They say when the snow fell red over Red Hollow, the ghost of Elias Gray laid down his guns for good. The woman he saved tended his grave until her hair turned white, and children played where death once rode. Out there, where mercy met the cold, a legend found its rest.